Hello, everyone. It looks like we are live. And I want to say, first of all, let me know, guys, how is the sound from us? How is the picture as well? And I want to remind every one of you who's watching, because you never know with YouTube, join me on locals. You have other links down below as well that you can find, and all the links to my guests that really does not need introduction to Andrei Martyanov. You already have under this live stream. So buy Andrei coffee, good coffee, get his book, and definitely, check out his blog. The link is there. By the way, Andrei, congratulations on your blog. How many million of views you had recently? It was like a milestone
Well,
on your
it's
blog.
kind of, yeah, it's 40 million. Well, now it's way more, but I'm probably gonna hit you see, I'm getting up to not always between 1.6 and 2 million views a month. So I should be hitting 50 fairly soon. You see,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I didn't expect it. Again, it started to pick up after 2018, basically.
So, welcome back to Mr. Martyanov. If you have any questions, guys, you can ask later on, but we start with my questions today, of course. And as you see in the title of this live stream, I want to touch on a few topics. The first one will be, Andrei, about drones. When I was still in Moscow, there was an attack in the business center of Moscow with a drone. Months before was on Kremlin, as we remember. And then just few days later, I was already out of Russia. There was another drone attack in I think on the same building, actually.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I was wondering, with such a highly advanced security system as Russia has, how is it possible that just within those few days, the drone was able to hit on the same building?
Well, they fly them into the Moscow city primarily, which, by the way, in itself is a funny thing because most of Ukrainian population thinks that Russians eat their food from the dumpsters, and Russia is dirty and backward. And when Russians run into their take those Ukrainian villages, they immediately start unscrew their toilets and things like that. Yeah, that's what they think. No, I'm not kidding you. Actually, this is how many people in Washington think too. But of course, when they see the sun that they attack Moscow City, which is the tallest basic collection of skyscrapers in Europe. But the problem is, of course, it's not that. Those two drones, which actually hit the glass covering of one of the towers, have been actually suppressed by the electronic warfare. That is why they just basically didn't explode. They basically crashed into being uncontrolled. The rest of the drones usually, and especially which fly from their remote locations, they are being shut down and quite successfully. Of course, you will get once in a while, you get one or two through their defenses, especially when you have the NATO, for example, which scans the electromagnetic map of Russia nonstop, 24/7. And it can provide it can provide some kind of hints or even direct information on some gaps, for example, in their radar of air defense systems, how they work, because they cannot work 24/7, 365. Sometimes you have their own duty air defense system. The other one goes into their passive mode, and sometimes it's turned off because you cannot run it for. You can run them some radar for 7 days, but then you have to turn it off anyway because inevitably even the solid state electronics gets overheated, and that's a normal procedure. And that's what NATO does. They run their satellites, they run their early warning systems, like Sentry, E3 Sentry, and AVAX. So they scan the electromagnetic picture constantly, and they provide it with Ukraine with this. But then there is a second issue, and that's one much more serious. And that's why suddenly Russia is reviewing now its procedures in terms of the granting citizenship to the former people from the former Ukrainian territories. You get a lot of sleeper cells of the SBU and GUR people. And actually, some of them have been already uncovered. Others, which are basically the diversionary forces. And many of those drones are launched not from Ukraine. They launched in and around Moscow itself. And that is why Russia, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, Russians finally stated just no drones whatsoever, none, only state-owned. Before that, it was pretty liberal policy in terms of using their what is called unmanned aerial vehicles. Those drones which struck the specific skyscraper there, they were actually of the not airplane type. I believe they were different type of UAVs, and they were a shorter range. That means what? They could sit anywhere in some village or in some forest, maybe 50, 70 kilometers from Moscow center, or maybe 100 kilometers, about that, and totally within Russian territory, and they will fly them in. And once they get the signal from their headquarters, and this is just one of the possibilities. Do not forget, drones are by far not the most important threat. The other threat is already, you might not maybe haven't heard those news, but actually there was the group stopped about a week ago. They sabotaged the electric distribution console on the railroad. They literally want to derail passenger trains. So this is full-blown terrorist activities, which is financed by NATO. It's supported by NATO. And what can I say? Well, it is what it is. So what can you do? You have to just, FSB is dealing with this issue.
Andrei, so before I go, I want to continue with those drones a little bit, but can you tell me, because actually I don't know this, but you just said what I was sensing, more like my intuition. How many Ukrainians are in Russia? Over 3 million, right? Like 3.5 Ukrainians live in Russia?
Yeah, it's about 3.5, I believe, which moved since 2014, actually. The refugees, many of them have been not necessarily from Donbass. There were many people, Ukrainian people, who have been moving from central Ukraine, around Kiev, and from Sumy and other regions. And suddenly, as was basically forewarned by many people, me included, not all of those people have very warm feelings to Russia. I'm giving you, it's not anecdote, it's not some kind of rumor. It did happen, and I know this for sure. In 2014, when Russia was reacquiring Crimea back, there were many doctors, including from what used to be the hospital of the Black Sea Fleet, and they were Ukrainians. They were just basically running to the buses, getting ready to move out of Crimea, Russian Crimea, go back to Ukraine proper. And there was a thing which was the list of the salaries of the doctors and nurses, what it will be once Russians took over. Boy, those buses got empty. And you think so they went back because they love Russia? No, because just their pay rate is just incredible, compared to Ukrainian. And so many people are there not because they love Russia. They're there because they just, obviously Russia is living way better. I mean, it's incomparably better than Ukraine. And they just want to have this material type, how to say it, privileges, if you wish. And there you go. And many of them hate Russia.
Andrei, so as I understand, and I felt this, that the threat is really from within. Mm-hmm. The threat is from within. So who supplies those drones to those people? How do they get it?
It's you still can penetrate a Russian border in some places, It is always the game of chance. And of course, you can actually transport drones completely disassembled, and there are all kinds of ways of kind of having those parts, if not the whole drones, actually being delivered. And don't forget, you don't have to go through a Russian-Ukrainian border. You can go through Kazakhstan, Russian border. You can go through other places. So basically, it's doable. I don't know how it is, but I'm sure FSB is dealing with this issue as we speak. So, but yeah, there will be obviously the continuous attacks and continuous attempts on the pure terrorist acts to blow up civilians and things of this nature. This is what they do. They cannot win on the battlefield, so they will try to, and that's pretty much it.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So do you think there will be more attacks like on the shopping centers, schools, centers where people gathered, hospitals? Do you think it will be more targeted like this, more escalated like this?
It's not escalated. They were trying to do this all the time. Yeah, this is what they are. Do not forget. The foundation of the Bandera ideology and the Ukrainian ultranationalism, they have those things all in the open called Ubey Rusnyu, kill Rusnya. The Russians are being called Rusnya, which is, just kind of insulting type, diminutive way to address. So yeah, it's racial. The hatred is more than just cultural or ideological. It's racial. They think themselves, just superior Iranian people, whatever they are. So yeah, in this case, to them, they don't care. And again, listen, you are a Polish woman. You know what happened to Volyn. Did they care about killing children, women, raping them? No. This is what they are. That's what they are. And this is, and again, these are the same people who sit and adore them in Washington and London. They applaud. The more Russians are killed, the more pain is on women, children. That's the only thing they can do. They never fought anybody serious. They know they cannot win on the battlefield. And this desperation and hatred, if you look attentively, for example, at current Washington cabal, which sits, and drives the United States into utter destruction, or you look at people in London, those are not normal people, those are psychopaths, so, and yeah, they hate Russians like on the not just some kind of ideological or purely cultural reasons. They have this racial hatred, they have a lot of things there, which is, again, remember, do not forget, a few years back, about 4 years, James Clapper, the coordinator of the national intelligence of the United States, he stated that Russians genetically are predispositioned to cheat, to lie, to. Did you hear any reaction from U.S. media? No. So, and I'm on record already. The average American or British or German journalist is generally, by definition, as a war criminal. They are the people who actually applaud this. They are pushing the agenda, and so they just don't understand it. And some begin to understand that. Eventually, they will be charged in the war crimes tribunal, which is being assembled as we speak. It will be in Moscow and most likely in Donetsk. So, Goebbels knew what he did. That is why they killed he and Martha. They killed their children and then asked the guard to shoot them in the back while walking out of chancellery. And the point is, they knew it. Did Goebbels kill anybody? No, the guy didn't kill anybody. He was basically screwing around, you sleeping with different kind of Berlin women, but other than that, but he knew what he did. They basically promoted this agenda. They pushed this agenda. And they knew that, of course, they knew then basically supporting their Nazi ideology that millions upon millions of people died. And that's the same goes for average jerk from New York Times or London Times. They don't understand this. But the blood, the amount of spilled blood, primarily on Ukrainian side, is now such that this is not going down in history like Afghanistan. Oh, let's get out. No, it's they made a wrong decision. Okay, let's put it this way.
But Andrei, in your last video, talk about it on your channel, and this to me is like homicide.
It is homicide. It is
It
homicide.
is, it is homicide what they are doing. They
Oh
are
no,
doing this
yeah,
intentionally.
yeah. That's the industrial scale murder not seen in Europe since World War II.
Mm-hmm.
For example, already by I believe yesterday, Michael Vlachos, he considered in the United States as a great strategist. I believe he was with Colonel McGregor, I think, and he stated, kind of like being himself overwhelmed, that in 500 days now, armed forces of Ukraine, and they sustained losses which are larger than Germany sustained in 1500 days in World War One. You think so that goes down and everybody forgets? No. There are many people who will be paying there, especially when they charge. There will be many people who will have hits on their head for the crimes they committed. And it's a serious issue. And
Okay, let me ask you here, Andrei. Sorry, let me ask you here. When do you think this will take place? Those tribunals. When you look at the current timing.
um, difficult to say, but as what I know, Russia already started. Well, it's not the full blown offensive, but serious offensive actions. Let's put it this: serious offensive actions at Kupiansk operational access, which Russia will obviously already broke through in several places through the Ukrainian front. So let's put it this way. Armed forces of Ukraine as such now, as Colonel McGregor uses the word, he is not using the word defeated anymore. He uses the term which he calls broken, because they are broken. They have their basically morale is cratering tremendously. And again, you saw yourself, they have now not only 60-year-old men being recruited, they have even mentally challenged people being called on their recruiting stations, which is like, okay, where do we go from there? We know the 16-year-olds have been already recruited. We don't know the full scale of no, we know the scale, we know order of magnitude of the casualties. So basically, how much they left? Very little time. I don't know. Again, you have to understand the only reason they exist and why Russia is not moving actively forward, because Russians do not need this broken country. Ukraine as such doesn't exist as the state anymore, really. The only reason we have some kind of form of government or whatever passes for government in Kiev is because it is supported and paid for by Washington and London primarily, and European Union to a degree. So, and when you look at that, it's just where do we go from here? I don't know. Does Russia need this broken country on its balance? No, Russians don't want this. And again, as we spoke about, what's the name? Drones. There are no anymore those feelings of brotherly people, towards Ukrainians in Russia. And many people who are on the front lines and who know what is going on, they call back and say, there are no friends for us there. Few people here and there who support Russia, basically, sort of watches, so to speak, don't make any difference. And so who's going to be paying for that?
There is no more sentiment like it was in the beginning.
No.
There was this sense of sentiment. And I, you know this, that you're from Russia, but I'm watching this and I'm like, they are just done. It comes to the point when Russians are just done with this.
Oh yeah. And those are historical, not grievances. Russians didn't have really grievance against Ukraine, but the historical truth is now being exposed for everybody to see. And it's like, there is a very famous Soviet movie. In fact, as many people, even Hollywood admits that it's the greatest war movie, which is called Come and See, Иди смотри, by Elem Klimov. It's about Khatyn village, which was absolutely slaughtered in 1943 in Belarus. And for many years, Soviet Union, in the history, it was ascribed to SS. But then, of course, the truth is these were actually Ukrainians who slaughtered it, and even SS people were just stunned by the brutality. They basically gathered those several hundred people, just put them into the barn with children, women, and just burned them alive. So, and when you look at this, and then suddenly you begin to pull, they always hated Russians, so it's just, so there you go.
So, Andrei, I want to go back into the drones and then a few more topics here. There were just explosions reported a few hours ago, I think, in the city in the port, Russian port, Novorossiysk, right? Yep. On the Black Sea. So is there like a ship that has been destroyed by the Ukrainian drone?
One of the amphibious landing ships have been hit. It's not destroyed. It's already in the dock. There was a damage. Okay. There was a damage to a couple of the watertight compartments. That is why, while it was being towed, it was listing to the port. But no, it wasn't destroyed, and it's going to be repaired fairly soon. So it's primarily hull damage, which is a normal thing when you have the hit with the explosives. It's not gigantic by any means because it has been it was towed. So it's one of the drones which actually got through. But I actually posted about it today in my blog, because the commanding officer of the ship has to be asked now how his outside watch was organized. Where were his signal men who were standing this watch with the night vision? Because this type of the attacks, for example, in the around Sevastopol, usually are repelled with the full destruction of every attacking drone. In this particular case, most of the drones which were attacking Novorossiysk have been blown, annihilated by naval ships around Myshako, but one got through, and basically this amphibious landing ship should have been expecting it and destroyed, but they didn't. So there will be the issues which will be related to the commanding officer and the commanding corps of the ship. What were they doing? I think so they simply approached it in a not professional manner, I would say. So that's what I say. But no, the ship wasn't destroyed, it was damaged, and the damage is not critical, so it will be repaired fairly soon.
Thank you. Before I go into the Russian Navy and Odessa, those two topics I want to talk to, I want to ask you, because someone asked this question. I didn't really want to ask this question, but it's from the viewer, so I will highlight this. Do you want to address it, Andrei, or not?
I would go with the professional intelligence officer, who is my friend Scott Ritter, and I would largely agree with his assessment. Let's put it this way. So okay. I'm not in a position to judge anything, and I'm not an intelligence man. I'm former military professional. I obviously dealt with some kind of the issues pertaining the counterintelligence. When you serve, you inevitably communicate with people who are in counterintelligence departments of their formations and units. But Scott is directly the intel person, and I would say I largely subscribe to Scott's opinion.
Thank you, Andrei. Okay, and now back to my question of completely different nature. When I was still in Russia, President Putin was in St. Petersburg, and he announced there will be, let me read this actually, 30 combat ships, right? They will receive 30 combat ships this year. And I want to ask you about it, because now they are actually, the Polish, can I just tell you, Andrei, the Polish shenanigans, okay? So Russia is training in the Baltic Sea, okay?
Yeah.
The training, standard trainings, yeah?
Yeah, the exercises, yeah.
Duda on alert. Duda on alert. Go to Gdynia. Alert, alert. So, well, you know what I think. But when I want to ask you about the Russian Navy, clearly is getting stronger and stronger, right? How strong really Russian Navy is, and how do you see this going forward in the future? Do you think that region, Finland area, Baltic coast, is it like the most sensitive in your opinion? Not even the Suwałki corridor area. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. People who begin to, very many people, and I know about this problem, they review the modern naval power in terms of the standard and visual standard also, and operational standard, which was set up by United States Navy. United States Navy is a magnificent force with magnificent history, especially World War II, so there were incredible heroism and professionalism, fighting Japanese Imperial Navy. And the idea of the carrier-centric Navy is kind of embedded very deeply inside, for example, brains of many American and Western people, including Russian people too, actually, some of them. So they judge it also by visuals. Oh, they have so many carriers, and things like that. Well, that's fine too. The problem is, of course, what is the 21st century warfare? And I wrote 3 books on that. And the question is, the only question you have to ask is, how many Kinzhals or how many Zircons it takes to sink aircraft carrier? I can tell you 2. And I can tell you with the 100% guarantee, they will not be intercepted. So no matter what they do. So it takes about, I don't know, the salvo or 15 missiles altogether, different types, anti-shipping missiles on the, basically the extreme range possible for the range of those missiles to basically sink the whole carrier battle group. And I mean sink, literally destroy it utterly. Not with nuclear warheads, just conventional. And some people in US Navy, they know it, because the problem is, while they're still magnificent Navy, it also has, we cannot deny it anymore, it has huge operational and strategic issues and procurement issues. Just to give you an example, the Zumwalt class destroyers turned out to be white elephant, which are worthless in combat. They are now retiring the whole class of ships, some of them 2 years old, littoral combat ships, each of them $500 million. Guess what? They are useless in combat. So the new types of and improved Aegis and all that thing are Arleigh class destroyers, also useless against modern warfare. They cannot stop the salvo of the modern, let's say, supersonic Onyx missiles, let alone they cannot stop anything in terms of the hypersonic weapons. And this is what I started to writing about since hell knows when, and that's the problem. It has its own use, but for example, just recent news, you can look it up, 3 weeks ago, in the U.S. Naval Institute proceedings, all over defense websites, and reported to the Congress. United States cannot deploy 40% of its nuclear submarines. They were supposed to be 20, which is kind of acceptable. Your subs are on the service, on the combat patrol. Some stay in port being serviced, and the other 20% are in the serious middle level or middle age repair, update, what have you, in the docks and shipyards. Well, guess what? 40, that's scary. I mean, essentially, it's they don't have that many. While, for example, the operational tempo of Russian nuclear submarines, which are state of the art and the only nation which actually has their not only competitive edge now, they are at sea constantly. And again, Russian Navy has what U.S. Navy doesn't have. Russian Navy has a very large diesel electric submarine component. And some of them, very many of them, are state-of-the-art. They are carriers of the cruise missiles, and it has been demonstrated in Syria. So, and when you look at this, then, yeah, sure, if you want to lose the aircraft carrier, just move it closer and it's going to be gone, So that's how things change. And that is why you can quote me on that. And I've been saying this for a while now. United States lost the arms race. And we're not talking just about nuclear arms race. United States lost the conventional arms race to Russia.
So, Andrei, Now, when you said this, as of course you know, I'm not an expert in any of this,
Sure,
just
sure.
using my logic, because the whole system of the military complex, selling the weapons, creating more wars, this is the machine that has been going on for decades already, right? Very long time. So do you think ultimately US will not be the leader of it, that concept is not going to survive? So who will take over this? Do you think this will go on to another country like China, or
Yeah,
how this?
yeah, there is basically now the discussion in Washington. And again, funny that I posted today, Irina Alksnes of RIA News, she penned a really good piece yesterday about it. They want to shift now their financing to Taiwan. You see, here's the issue. They think in Washington that they're such a big conscious, and they thought, okay, let's, throw Ukraine into there, at Russia. Russia will kind of sink its whole economy there. We will, sanction it, and Russians will disintegrate. Putin regime will be, ousted. Well, it doesn't work like this, as you might understand. And again, do not forget, they still consider China to be number one enemy. So now what you have more than a year and a half of the beating of NATO and humiliating of the NATO equipment, NATO operational concept, NATO military, because Ukraine at the moment of February 24, 2022, was second largest and best equipped army in NATO, not being a NATO member. It was only second to the United States. Bundeswehr looked like a bunch of amateurs compared to the Ukrainian armed forces. So that was the idea. And they thought, oh my God, we use this RAM, we collapse Russian economy, Russians, oust Putin and all that. Well, look what's happening now. European Union is done. NATO is a dead man walking. United States military concept and mythologies have been completely demolished. Basically, their whole operational planning and equipment of NATO have been exposed as a fraud. It's a joke, really. I mean, I look sometimes at American generals, many of them, and the guys are amateurs. They wouldn't be allowed to actually command the damn battalion in the Russian army. And so, but they still need to go against China. So they begin to shift. They're in this desperate Van Damme pose almost, and his split. What do we do? And I don't know what they're gonna do. Those people are again, most of people who are populate or rather infest decision-making circles and academia in Washington D.C. They are clueless. Again, what has been exposed, not only I'm talking about military. NATO weapons are junk. They are not designed to really fight serious war. But the point is that when you look at this so-called American intelligence and intellectual class, they have been exposed as being dumb as a stump. I mean, it's unfreaking believable. Those people literally cannot find their own ass with both hands in the brightly lit room. Those degrees from Ivy League in all those political science and foreign relations is garbage. They teach garbage. They teach some kind of ideology, which is absolutely, they don't know what real history of the world is. And that is why when you look at these people in whatever Council on Foreign Relations or Atlantic Council, those people wouldn't be allowed to mow the lawn of some, middle-level Russian, businessman, and it's just like, and these are the people who, go and say, oh, we know how to fight the war. No, you don't. They don't teach it. They don't teach it in the American military institutions how to fight the war. They invented this history, military history, and military mythology of the United States. And you can quote me on that. The military, which admires General Patton as the tank genius, is bound to be basically destroyed and defeated on the real battlefield. And this is a very good litmus test. But then again, as you know, United States won World War II. It was United States with the help of those, small Russians with just a little bit sideshow. These were United States, who basically created everything that is great in the world. With all my love for the country, and I live in the United States. It's my country now, and there are so many great accomplishments, great people, whom the United States produce. But what it produces now, it's a human garbage, basically. Those people completely lost touch with reality. They completely lost their measure of scale, the proportion, and they believe this. That's the tragedy. They believe this trash which they produce. And as a result, you see now they want to fight China around Taiwan. Good luck with that.
You are so right on everything you say. You are so right, and I think they are so, first of all, they live in denial.
Mhm.
They live in the past, and they are blinded by the greed and hunger for power. That's what it is. They are completely blinded by this.
Yeah, that's what it
Okay,
is.
Andrei, okay, 1 second. Let me quickly ask here. This is from Old Richard. If I may ask, what was Andrei's rank in Russian Navy? I speak as an officer with very advanced education.
Senior lieutenant. I was senior lieutenant. It was my rank, but what many people do not understand, it's not only a rank. I finished my service with the billet of the lieutenant commander. So that's, I was the flag navigator of the brigade, separate brigade. But because of my health, my lieutenant captain promotion coincided with me being retired for the health reason.
Thank you, Andrei. Okay, Odessa. Odessa is lately being under attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you about the significance of this place, and will Russia take Odessa over, or what's going to happen there?
Well, for starters, Russia will finish destroying Odessa port, which she's doing now. And Mr. Lavrov today stated, and Maria Zakharova stated, that we don't trust any word on the United States who want to help us on this grain deal, on the resumption of the grain deal. Obviously, nobody is going to talk to these people in Washington. It's a collapsing and corrupt regime through and through, so nobody is talking to them. There's nobody to talk to. But secondly, Odessa obviously is very important historically for Russians, because obviously it's Catherine the Great and Prince Potemkin project, so to speak. And Таврическая губерния, Tavrida governorship, and those string of the Russian cities which have been built there on the in the Black Sea shores are very important culturally, especially Odessa. And especially Odessa, for which Red Army fought like crazy, just trying to defend it in World War II. But it was also the main entrance point, together with the port of Izmail at Danube, for their not just grain deal. We know the grain deal was used to what? To deliver weapons and ammunition to Ukraine. So Russians said, well, enough is enough. So, and they just blew up those ports, and they will continue to do so. And will Russia go for Odessa this time? I don't know. That's beyond my knowledge, obviously. Only Mr. Putin and Mr. Gerasimov and Shoigu know this, and general staff. And even most people in general staff don't know it, because those people who know it, they're not telling us. And
so, Andrei, but isn't it because Catherine the Great, it was like her dream project?
Yeah, it was. This string of Russian cities, over at the Black Sea, it was a kind of huge statement against the Turkish expansion there. And do not forget, many people do not want to basically remember this fact. Actually, Turkey and Crimean Tatars and Crimean Khanate, they had been involved big time in slave trade. And guess who those slaves were? Russians. they was capturing those Russians in large numbers and then sending them to the slave markets in Turkey and elsewhere in Europe and Africa. So, and that had to stop. And that is why, for example, Crimea has been acquired at that time, and Sevastopol has been built, and, they basically established Russia as the power on the Black Sea. And that's Catherine the Great, it's Potemkin, it's Kutuzov, it's Suvorov. So those are legendary names by Russian statesmen and military leaders. And of course, culturally, it is extremely significant. And but will they take Odessa now? I don't know. We have to see where the regime in Kiev goes. I mean, how it goes. We know it's dead man walking, but we can only imagine, if it happens, what kind of the behind the scene bargaining may be happening. Although I don't believe in bargaining anymore. Russians are pretty clear in their objectives. They basically articulated that in December 2021, so-called Russian ultimatum, and Russia will persist on continuing with this.
So here I want to add something from me, because Andrei knows so much about history and he loves movies. So I will go into two things here. When I was in Moscow, I saw that great museum I recommend to everyone to see, is the Museum of Military Uniform. So you can go through the history of Russia and you can see Catherine the Great and how the soldiers look like, and you can create the uniforms there. Actually, it's an incredible place. So I recommend you guys to go, because when Andrei is talking about it, I just remember that museum and how the soldiers look like. Andrei, one more comment here I want to show you. This is not a question, it's more a comment. Agreeing with you. The decline of academia is real. I work in a major university library, and the books coming in with titles like Russia's War and Russia's Against Modernity would make you both want to scream. That's what we have.
American Academy and American and Western field of Russia studies is the field of fraudsters and shysters. Practically 90% of people who teach Russian history in the United States are shysters. They are primarily dissidents. They are immigrants, very many of them Jewish, from former Soviet Union. And they basically teach not history, they teach the ideology. There are no serious academicians on Russia in the United States who are allowed anywhere near. And even those people who would come across as somewhat neutral, they have no clue what they're talking about. And again, as I already stated, it's a larger systemic problem that we have the people with liberal arts degrees facing now the world so complex and warfare so complex that they don't have toolkit to even understand what is going on. Not to mention the fact when they have an agenda and they go out and write things like settling accounts with Russians and writing, like, again, Russians unscrew their toilets from, Ukrainian villages. They use the washing machine microchips and things of this nature. So, and when you explain to people that actually New York looks like a, pardon my phrase, crap hole compared to Moscow, St. Petersburg, they cannot believe that. They still think that Chicago is a great city, So, well, good luck to them, so. And this is just, and again, the same goes for London, and everybody knows what Paris looks like, and it smells with urine. So, hey, what do we know? Let them live in this garden, as Mr. Borrell said, So there you go.
Garden. Andrei, two quick questions that I didn't have for you, but I cannot let you go. This is really like from me, just came. Recently I saw a trailer of a movie, and you like movies, you're like so good with movies, about Napoleon. Mm-hmm. And the main character is played by Joaquin Phoenix. And when I watched this trailer, it's not out yet, but when I watched this trailer, because I know how they do it, Andrei, the projection, right? Yeah. So I was wondering why this movie is coming out this year. It's like timing, Andrei. It's timing. Right. Napoleon movie. A Napoleon that fails in Russia. Okay? So I am thinking why they are putting this movie out now in November, I think it will be.
Sure.
Thanksgiving. What do you think? Is there any coincidence here? Because do you think this will be over by November?
Oh, very well could be. And again, I do not watch modern Hollywood. It's mostly trash.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that's basically it's infested with the pedophiles and all kinds of
Yes.
perverts. So I do not even want to touch anymore whatever they produce. And basically, all their franchises induce only vomit. As are most people who are there. I mean, most of those people, the only movie of Hollywood which I will watch, I will basically gonna watch second part of June, which is a disaster. No, it's not disaster for all those fanboys, who love CGI, but I mean, it's not a good movie by Villeneuve. And I will watch obviously the Sound of Freedom. That's the only
Yes.
thing.
100%.
Yeah, the rest of it, I don't want to watch.
Yes.
It's trash. And
Yes.
again, it's
Yes.
not just
But that's a symbol here. You know why I ask you this? Because I don't go to movies anymore, really, at all, at this point. After all this, by the way, I will say it, even if they ban me. Yes, pedo would, exactly. Thank you for the
that's
comment.
what I am.
Yeah, I just said, I mean, that's what it is. But the question is, with this Napoleon movie coming out, I'm like, this will show this major disaster in Russia. Why they are putting this movie out now when they have this situation in Ukraine, which makes no sense.
For many of them makes sense because many of them are people with the perverted mind. And again, do not forget, I love Ricky Gervais' speech at the Golden Globes in 2020. Those are people with education less than Greta Thunberg, So most of Hollywood, and again, the directors and everything, they are very ambitious and very uncultured people. Okay, and that is why, as already stated, I mean, I don't even care what they produce. The question is not that they produce trash, which is obvious. It's that the people who make it, they have no, I mean, human qualities left in them. They are, as already stated, pedophiles. They are some perverts. They are, basically people with the agenda, and they are to the point of losing any self-control. So it's like this Roman Polanski guy, Oh, but he's so talented. No, I don't care about how talented he was, And it's that's what it is. That's why, again, as I stated, I don't watch anything from that.
Andrei, next year is election in Russia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think it will go?
Well, Putin will win overwhelmingly, obviously, and they will try again to do what they try to do all the time. But the problem is that's the whole other issue. Those people in State Department or in Academy, American or British Academy, they're so dumb. They continuously talk and communicate only with people who are dissidents, and because most of those Oxford professors and from Ivy League being so ambitious jerks, and the same as goes for the intelligence community, they want to hear what those people tell them. And what do? They need the constant self-validation. They can get this self-validation only talking to these, basically fringe people who will tell them whatever they want to hear. And for example, they want to hear that Russians are suffering and dying from hunger and Putin regime is about to collapse. Well, guess what? You have those bunch of the shysters who go on the Fox News, CNN, and say, oh, Russian expert. And they tell them exactly what they want to hear. And that's what it is. There is no academic integrity left in the Western world. None. We already have the scandal with the Stanford University president who faked the data. They fake data everywhere on every single issue. They fake data on economics, which is basically the cookbooks. They fake data on the climate. They fake data on the psychology. They basically what we have in the West today, they literally invented alternative history. They literally invented just things which do not stand even the basic, test of the facts and reality. And then you go and you look at this, and what do you expect? The next thing will be STEM. the mathematics, physics, scientific disciplines, they will be also subjected to this. So there you go. You already heard about it, that in Seattle School District, they say, because it's politically incorrect, they teach mathematics, which said, who cares about if the answer wrong, or who can say that the answer is correct or not? You can look it up. Seattle School District. What do you expect from those people? We're literally, we're entering 1984, and crime thing. Newspeak. We have Newspeak now. We have doublethink. So, and again, I believe it was Tyler McDonald who introduced this beautifully. Russia is about to collapse, but so powerful that it's about to take over the world. I mean, how these two things even put together? But this is what they do. They literally have doublethink. They don't have not just double; they have triple morality. And when you look at this is what it is. These are Western elites. Welcome to the brave new world. Most of them are.
But Andrei, let me ask you, how strong is there an opposition of Putin in the circles in Kremlin? How strong it is? Because clearly not everyone, majority agrees, right? But how strong is it? Is there strong opposition against his policies in Kremlin that can change or affect to some extent any decision making? For example, I was just thinking the digital ruble approval. So how strong is the opposition?
Okay, let me put it this way. The idea about those, it's called in Russia, Bashny Kremlin, the Kremlin different towers speaking to each other, like, there are some centers of power. I can tell you what opposition is for Putin. There is a strong group of opposition to Putin, which wants to finish this off, go directly to Kiev, and then just basically wipe out everything there is there in Ukraine. And Putin is a reasonable one, okay? For example, Dmitry Medvedev, I mean, my gosh, he was... And secondly, the fact of the opposition in Kremlin to Putin policies is a figment of imagination by the Western academia. Because they don't understand Russia, they don't understand how it works. They thought that Prigozhin, Wagner, Putsch will be a success. They are really idiots. They don't understand what is going on. They live in this. Hey, when you have data fed to you from Kiev regime, which all of it is fake, but they trusted it. That's what they were pouring into their table or the briefings of Joe Biden. Not that he understands it anyway. They really believe that. And you have to be a complete moron. This is how they don't know what is going on. This is how they don't know Russia. Some idiots in Congress, they still think that they are dealing with the Soviet Union. So you have those lawyers with some freaking, Vancouver County Community College degree in law, who gets elected to to be the congressman or let alone senator. Guess what? He gets into this corrupt thing. He understands, oh my God, I can make truckload of money selling, and what is the narrative? Tell me what to say. And they tell him this garbage. He doesn't have education. They don't have culture. Only idiots can, pretend that they are cultured people. They are not. So, and the most things they ever read about themselves was Bible in the best case, or Torah, whatever. They never read the book. They don't understand literature. They don't understand art. And let alone they don't understand what military is and warfare. So you get those people who are basically, again, from the, nothing wrong with it. They are from the kind of, some of them salt of the earth, and that's good. But remarkably, those opposition, so they call them now right-wing extremists, but actually these are people salt of the earth conservatives, which are actually turning out to be more common sense and understand people who understand things. The rest of them, I mean, take any graduate from Harvard Law School. What do they know about the world? They are being taught there, I mean, not even law, or take any graduate from the foreign relations degree with whatever, Georgetown University. Those are morons, basically, because they are being taught America exceptionalism as the science. It's not a science, it's fraud. And so you begin to talk to them about real serious issues of the world, be them related to economy. Again, the most complex human activity in history is warfare. Can you imagine now me explaining what operational art and how operations are planned to some guy who has the Juris Doctor or has degree in political science from some Ivy League degree mill, from Harvard or Yale? Can you imagine me explaining it to them? They have no clue. They have no toolkit. It's not given to them. They do not even understand the fundamental issue of the geopolitics. And now you have the issues of the balance of power. Good God. How do you explain to them? And again, it's just for people who really have no clue. I've been on record. Now, World Bank sort of supported me, but and again, even that numbers are crap. I'm on record for years. Russian economy dwarfs that of Germany. They don't even understand that. That is why many Germans are now moving to Kaliningrad buying, because it's not only they want to live better, and apart from the fact that of the basically suffocating atmosphere in Germany now, it's a woke dystopia there. So, and when you explain it to them, how, and they say, oh, the stock market means nothing. It's speculation. They move 1 zeros of their virtual money from one account to another account. Oh, you create nothing. You actually deduct from human economic activity. And that is why they don't understand how this Russia, which according to them has the economy smaller than of Netherlands, outproduces the whole NATO combined by order of magnitude in most sophisticated weaponry in the world. They have no clue. That is why what they are, and when you explain to them, can Russia produce 1,500 tanks a year? Yep. United States cannot produce a single one because they don't have, they can produce some kits, and that's what it is.
Andrei, you're on fire today. Last question. This is from Alex. Anya, can you please ask what Shoigu's visit to North Korea was about?
My understanding that Shoigu's visit to Korea had nothing to do with the ammunition as they try to portray in all those sewer tabloids like Wall Street Journal or, whatever, Politica, they're all tabloids. They're sewer, human and, professional sewers. They are not real media. But I think so their visit was precisely because of the issues pertaining the possible shift in focus towards the Taiwan. In earnest, it's related to China, and it's related to North Korea getting ready to the basically all kinds of possible provocations there too, because the United States needs to fire up or light up another conflict. That was related to this, and it also related in many sense. Why would Russia now follow the sanctions regime on North Korea? Why? Russians are already talking openly. Okay, let's kind of quit now. Not only the which already Russia quit INF treaty, and after the United States obviously quit it. Let's quit the nuclear test ban treaty. Why should we go with anything what have been signed with the United States when they don't follow themselves? So Russia as well is getting ready probably to lift the sanctions bans on North Korea, which will definitely accelerate the economic exchanges. And who knows, let me put it this way, Russians may consider to kind of stabilize the flank, because near Vladivostok, Vladivostok is about 40 kilometers from the North Korean border, just in case the United States decides to commit suicide and start something around Taiwan. Then Russia might supply North Korea together with, some necessary, how to put it, equipment. And so, yeah, it's a game. We don't know. Russia doesn't need North Korean ammunition. It's all BS, obviously.
Thank you, Andrei. I just saw like a movie screen right now, like with those dots. So here they are. We cover it all from everywhere. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I asked Andrei for a quick live, and here we go again with all the questions. Please make sure to join Andrei's blog and to buy Andrei coffee. We should all buy Andrei coffee. So
next time we talk, I have a T-shirt with the minion, and it calls need coffee. So it's just I will wear that.
Absolutely. Yes, lots of coffee. So thank you so much to Andrei. All the links are below, guys. So just make sure to check it out and subscribe to Andrei's very interesting name of the channel, Smoothie X12. We already covered that many months ago, why the name. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you for your questions, and we will see you another time. До свидания, everybody.
До свидания.